Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Ngalong hamba ngilita ngathona ngohlala eBholi lapha eMidrand bantu ngambela
Wabi.
Good morning, honorable members. I welcome all members
Recording in progress.
who have logged into the virtual mini-plenary session. There will be an opportunity for a silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. Honorable members, before we proceed, I would like to remind you that the virtual mini-plenary is deemed to be in the presence of Parliament, and it constitutes a meeting of the National Assembly for the debating purposes only. In addition to the rules of virtual sittings, the rules of the National Assembly, including the rules of debate, apply. Members enjoy the same powers and privileges that apply in a sitting of the National Assembly. Members should equally note that anything said in the virtual platform is deemed to have been said in the House and may be ruled upon. All members who have logged in shall be considered to be present and are requested to mute their microphones and only unmute when recognized to speak. This is because the mics are very sensitive and will pick up noise which might disturb the attention of other members. When recognized to speak, please unmute your microphone, and where connectivity permits, connect your video. Members may use of the icons on the bar at the bottom of their screens, which have an option that allows members to put up his or her hand to raise a point of order. The Secretariat will assist in alerting the chairperson to members requesting to speak. When using the virtual system, members are urged to refrain or desist from unnecessary point of orders or interjections. Lastly, I wish to remind you that we are in a meeting in a mini plenary session, and therefore any decision will be taken in a full plenary session of the Assembly. The first order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Portfolio Committee of Basic Education on the third quarterly report on performance of the Department of Basic Education in meeting its predetermined objectives for the 2024 and 2025 financial year. I will now invite honorable members to partake on the debate. I invite the Honorable Low.
Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, it is indeed a privilege to table before this House the report of the Portfolio Committee on Basic Education on the third quarterly report of Department of Basic Education for this financial year. This reports not only the outcomes of the department's work against its predetermined objectives, but also Parliament's ongoing responsibility to exercise oversight, ensure accountability, and strengthen service delivery within the education sector. Education remains a cornerstone of our democracy and an essential tool for transforming the lives of our people, addressing inequality, and building a capable, skilled, productive society. It is against this backdrop that the Portfolio Committee has engaged rigorously with the department, assessing achievements, identifying its shortcomings, and formulating recommendations aimed at improving policy implementation and outcomes in our schools. Quarterly reporting is a critical tool in this regard, enabling real-time assessment of progress in implementing the annual performance plan, which itself is aligned with the medium-term strategic framework 2019-2024 and the action plan of 2024 towards the realization of schooling 2030. This report therefore provides members with a clear picture of the department's work across 5 key programs: administration, curriculum policy, support and monitoring, teachers, education, human resources, and institutional development, planning, information and assessment, and education and enrichment services. Honourable members, the committee noted that of the 72 indicators tracked from the 2024-2025 financial year, the department had achieved the majority of quarterly targets, with some still in progress as annual deliverables. Encouraging progress was registered in areas such as the disbursement of Funza Lushaka bursaries, the monitoring of curriculum implementation, and the rollout of National School Nutrition Program. The committee also commends the department's continuing working in inclusive education, early childhood development, and the integration of information and communications technology in schools. These achievements demonstrate that despite fiscal constraints and administrative challenges, progress is made in strengthening the foundation of our education system. However, Honorable House Chair, the committee also raised critical concerns, persistent delays in invoice processing, disparities in the service delivery of workbooks across provinces, and uneven placement of Funza Lushaka graduates were all highlighted as areas requiring urgent attention. The committee noted with concern the variations in the provision of meals under the nutrition program, raising questions of equity and fairness in learner support. Further underspending in certain programs signals the need for tighter financial management and stronger accountability measures. The committee has urged the department to implement corrective measures to strengthen supply chain management system and ensure consequence management is enforced where failure occurs. The report also speaks to broader the challenge of sustaining the teaching profession. While efforts to employ young educators are commendable, questions remains regarding their retention, career development, and their overall morale of the profession. In closure, as we reach the final analysis, House Chair and all members, this report underscores the centrality of education to South Africa's future and the responsibility that rests upon all of us to ensure that no child is left behind. The committee's observations and recommendations must be seen not as criticism, but as constructive guidance to strengthen service delivery and accelerate progress. The ANC reaffirms its commitment to a quality, equitable, and inclusive basic education system that empowers every learner to realize full potential on the recommendations herein in advance of the constitutional right to education and the development aspiration of our nation. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We now invite the Honourable Dr. Christians.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Members, the third quarter report before us reflects areas of progress as well as matters that still need attention. The department reported on 72 indicators with 9 measured at a quarterly level. Encouragingly, 8 of these were achieved and 1 partially achieved, giving an overall success rate of 89%. While this is positive, it also reminds us that much of the core work in curriculum reform, teacher development and infrastructure is measured annually rather than quarterly. Strengthening in-quarter reporting on these areas would help Parliament and the public track progress more closely and ensure that delivery remains focused on what directly impacts learners. The department did, however, highlight achievements that are worth acknowledging. The administration of 2024 National Senior Certificate Examinations was conducted with integrity, credibility, and without major disruption, safeguarding the trust that learners, parents, and society placed in the system. More than 880,000 candidates were enrolled, and the processes of setting and moderating question papers, marking and standardization were completed successfully. The report also demonstrates progress in the enrichment of education. Targets for school nutrition monitoring were exceeded, with more schools checked than planned. Engagements around gender-based violence in schools reached nearly double the planned number of stakeholders, and more than 1.2 million learners benefited from health services. These are not minor matters. They directly improve the daily schooling experience of learners and show a department moving beyond academics to prioritize safety, wellness, and inclusion. Yet, Chairperson, the challenge of school-based violence remains real. For example, in KwaZulu-Natal, recently a 17-year-old grade 10 learner at Trennans Park Secondary School in Verulam was stabbed in the neck with a kitchen knife by 2 grade 8 pupils during school hours. The learner underwent surgery and is thankfully currently recovering. On the same day, a mass brawl at Esther Payne Smith Secondary School in Pietermaritzburg left 2 learners injured. These incidents indicate that while progress is being made nationally, attention to school safety in provinces like KwaZulu-Natal must remain a top priority. On the financial side, the department spent 27.4 billion out of the projected 27.5 billion rand, a variance of 0.6%. This is broadly aligned with projections and demonstrates improved financial discipline. Yet, here too, the detail matters. Underspending in Programme 2 due to procurement delays in early childhood development resources and underspending in Programme 4 due to late invoices from implementing agents remind us that financial efficiency is not only about spending, but about spending with impact and timeliness. A delayed textbook or a delayed classroom is a learner left behind. The department also recorded the appointment of 2,998 qualified educators under the age of 30 across all provinces, of whom more than 1,000 were placed permanently. These placements represent a meaningful step towards rejuvenating the teaching workforce. It is precisely this kind of progress that should be captured more consistently in quarterly reports, so that Parliament can track the pace of delivery and ensure it matches the urgency of our education challenges. Chairperson, the road does remain long. The eradication of unsafe infrastructure, the equitable placement of teachers, the full rollout of ECD, and the improvement of literacy and numeracy will not be achieved overnight. But in this quarter, we see a department that is spending within its means, reporting with more clarity and making progress in areas that directly touch learners' lives. The DA stands firmly behind Minister Kwarube in her efforts to deliver a basic system that works, not for some provinces, not on paper, but for every child in every classroom across South Africa. This report reminds us that delivery is possible, but it must be deepened and measured more rigorously every quarter. Learners cannot afford to wait until the end of the year for accountability. Every quarter must count because every child's future counts. Chairperson, we support the consideration of this report with the expectation that the department continues to build on these gains and accelerates delivery in the quarters to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We now invite the Honourable Mgadi. The Honourable Mgadi. Do we have the Honourable Mgadi on the platform? Honourable Mgadi of the MKP.
Yes. Do you hear me, Chairperson?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue, Honourable Member.
Honourable House Chairperson and members, the MK Party does not support this report. The Department of Basic Education continue to fail the learners. It is constitutionally mandated to serve. We understand that this government favors the rich and the affluent, but it must at least cater for learners in rural areas, township, and special school. While the department points to surface level achievement, such as SASEM's coverage and the examination preparation, these minor gains are meaningless when the basic foundation of education is compromised. The DPE celebrates statistics while our children in pure community study without proper classroom, adequate sanitation, and sufficient learning material. It's clear that this government is doing all it can to destroy the future of the pure. These are not just the numbers. They represent children forced to use unsafe toilets, young girls exposed to indignity, and the learners squeezed to overcrowded classroom. That's make teaching nearly impossible. This department prioritizes boardroom presentation over the life reality of the most vulnerable learners. When it's come to learning material, the department excuses are unacceptable. For rich schools, such as covered by parents because they can. But in pure community where families cannot buy replacement, children simply go out. This shows that the department cares more about safeguarding privilege than ensuring equity. The digital divide grows together under DPE's watch. Out of 27 schools, only 3 were monitored for ICT usage, and no special school received promised devices. At a time when digital literacy can change lives for the better, this deliberation neglects, condemns pure and disabled learners to permanent disadvantages. By quarter 3, the department had spent 84.83% of its 32.2 billion budget rand, but underspending its key areas such as goods and service, 75.25%, and the ECD grant, which is 75%. Money meant for training, monitoring, and early childhood development. It's left endle chairperson while learners suffer as umkhonto wesizwe party. A party whose sole mandate is to improve the lives of our peoples that this government has forgotten about. We reject this report.
Honorable Member, unfortunately, your time has expired.
Our children deserve dignity, opportunity, and quality education. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now invite the Honorable Shkwambani.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Greetings to my President, the Commander-in-Chief, our Chief Whip, and all my fellow EFF members. Honorable Chair, the report before us today paints a troubling picture of underachievement, poor planning, and unfulfilled promises. While some limited progress has been made, the overall performance is unacceptable. Honorable Chair, let me highlight some key concerns. The department set a target of 500 test items for language and mathematics, yet by the third quarter, only 68 were developed, just 13.6% of the target. This gross underachievement has a direct impact on learners. 4 national senior certificate reports were planned, but only draft exist, awaiting finalization in the fourth quarter. Such delays undermines the credibility of our education system. Out of 320 question papers scheduled for the June and November exams, only 142 were ready by May-June, with 16 even pulled from the question bank. This reflects a serious lack of planning and foresight. While 98.85% of public schools are using the reporting system, monitoring remains weak. Only 729 out of 750 schools were monitored twice a year, leaving 21 schools without proper support. On infrastructure, 1.27 billion was allocated for building and repairs, yet only 1.14 billion was spent. Learners continue to endure broken toilets, unsafe classroom, and in some cases, schools without doors or running water. Our children deserve better, Honorable Chair. On nutrition, 9.8 billion was allocated for schools' meals, yet only 8.17 billion was spent. In some provinces, learners are fed only once a day because of reliance on multiple service providers. This is an insult to the dignity and the well-being of our children. Sexual harassment, bullying, and safety remains alarming. Only 25 districts were monitored for the National School Safety Framework. Just 958 participants were reached for gender-based violence interventions, a minimal effort given the scale of the crisis we have. Meanwhile, 4.89 billion remains unspent or misallocated. This is money meant for the education and future of our children. And every rand must be accounted for. Placement of young educators under 30 remains inconsistent. Many Funza Lushaka graduates remain unemployed, while some provinces overhire. Rural schools remain excluded from digital resources, leaving learners behind in a world driven by technology. Honorable Chair, the report reflects
Honorable Member,
insufficient
unfortunately,
oversight
your time
and
has
systemic
expired.
failure. The economic freedom fighters fairly reject this report, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We now invite the Honorable Ngobo.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The IFP reaffirms its unwavering commitment to accessible, quality basic education and welcomes this comprehensive report on the state of schooling across the country. We commend the efforts and successes aimed at improving infrastructure, teacher development, and learner support, which are crucial for elevating education standards in the provinces. The IFP remains particularly concerned about the persistent challenges, including the need for expansion of free schooling, NSNP food provisioning, improvement of teacher pay, and working conditions, and addressing critical infrastructure backlogs, especially insufficient staffing in rural and special needs schools. The importance of providing effective school nutrition, learner support, and accelerated ICT integration to equip learners for the demands of the 21st century cannot be overstated. We further emphasize the imperative of strong budget management to cap wasteful expenditure within the government departments tasked with education delivery. And in light with these matters raised, the IFP accepts this report. And I thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Ngobo. We now invite the Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The role of the Department of Basic Education is are threefold. It is to make policy, to monitor the implementation thereof, and also to intervene when crises occur. Now, what we know from this report is how many meals were delivered at schools. We know about the HIV programs. We know about an attempt at having all children recite the preamble of the Constitution when in assembly. We also know about ASIDI, the Accelerated Schools Infrastructure Development Initiative, that only one school was built during the time under consideration, and that actually reached the objective, and 65 classes, and that 20 out of a target of 100 schools received sanitation. That hardly seems adequate. Now, there are some concerns of which we read nothing in the report and which I think should be somewhere. The one is the regression with the uptake of mathematics as a subject. It is not quantified. There's no strategy, and definitely there is some problem with the education of mathematics. If several schools decide not to present it as a subject at all, it means there's something about how mathematics is offered to students which do not work. There's also no evaluation about the effectiveness of mathematical literacy, which is the alternative. Many times when people say what you should do with mathematics, or what it's worth, what its value in practical life, they refer to stuff that is actually in mathematical literacy and not in mathematics itself. And then also the role of the trade unions have not been dealt with. SATU, especially with its role in appointments. The Volming report has been tabled in 2016, and it's still not dealt with in any way 9 years later. These are things that should also be in a report where the quarterly
Honorable
whichever.
Boshoff,
I thank you.
unfortunately, your time has expired.
I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We invite the Honorable Kobe.
Thank you, House Chair. Chair, this report on the Department of Basic Education's third quarter performance shows once again how government pats itself on the back for ticking boxes, while the realities in our schools tell a very different story. Yes, the department reports an 89% of its targets that are achieved, but behind that figure, learners are still sitting in classrooms without textbooks, and workbook deliveries are inconsistent across provinces. The school nutrition program, which for many children is the only guaranteed meal of the day, is not applied equally. In some provinces, learners receive 2 meals, while in others, they get only 1. And unfortunately, in others, there are no meals, none whatsoever. The delays in paying contractors and suppliers are equally unacceptable. An invoice tracking register should not be a breakthrough idea in 2025, speaking quite frankly. It should be the bare minimum of good governance. Late payments mean stalled projects, wasted resources, and classrooms that are left unfinished. Another concern is the uneven placement of Funza Lushaka graduates. We cannot keep training young South Africans to be teachers and then leave them unemployed because of budget mismanagement and provincial disparities. That is a betrayal of both the graduates and the learners who desperately need them. House Chair, while the department speaks of aligning its work with the Bella Act, as Action SA, we must be very clear. We cannot support legislation that centralizes power in Pretoria while ignoring the real crisis that happens in our classrooms. Any reform must strengthen schools, empower parents, and improve learning outcomes, not weaken community voices. Our children's future cannot be trapped in paperwork
Honourable Member,
or politics.
unfortunately, your
Must
time
be
has
delivered
expired.
in every classroom. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We now invite the Honourable Dr. Maimane.
Thank you, House Chairperson. The purpose of this debate is clearly to consider the department's third quarterly report, and we're told that effectively of their 72 performance indicators by Q3, 8 out of 9 of those targets were fully or partially achieved. So I think generally when we speak about education on paper, it looks good. I want to impress upon members that the responses that the Minister of Basic Education to me point equally so a different picture to some extent, because they tell of the fact that when we look at teacher provisions and 60% of our public schools only have teaching posts composed that are state funded, meaning that the teacher to pupil ratio keeps increasing aligned to the budget we give. There are no state or no governing body funded posts. It's become quite clear that in fact 74% of South Africa's schools do not have a library. So if we want to encourage a culture of reading, young people are not reading, and we need to enhance this in schools. Thirdly, and most crucially, is when we look at STEM and commercial subjects, this is a key concern. 476 schools do not offer mathematics, 873 schools do not offer physical science, over just 1,500 schools do not offer accounting, 1,503 schools do not have business studies, and 1,900 schools do not offer economics. When the economy changes, it means that our young people are not going to have the skills to compete in the economy of the future. As Build One South Africa, we've worked with private sector to introduce a tutor learning platform that can give young people an opportunity to enhance technology, catch up with learning so they can improve. I've urged more people to be involved in our education needs. So in the end, here's some suggestions I want to make to the committee to fight for. Fight to end the 30% pass mark. Fight to include an independent education ombudsman. Pay teachers better. And let's ensure that a school voucher program is on the table. Now is the time we reform our education, House Chairperson. And I think the Minister of Education is working. We need to support to be able to bring about a
Honourable
change.
Maimane, your time has
Things change
expired.
for our young people. I thank you.
We now invite the Honourable Non-Danger.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. Honourable members, the UTM notes the Department of Basic Education's efforts reflected in their third quarterly report for the 2024-25 financial year. However, striking issues require urgent attention to uphold the quality and equity of education across the nation. A major concern remains the disparity in the delivery of learning and teaching support materials, especially workbooks across the provinces. Although the department claims 100% delivery in phases, the uneven distribution denies many learners timely access to essential educational resources. Another pressing issue is the uneven placement of Funza Lushaka graduates between provinces, exposing gaps in resource allocation and coordination. Finally, the digital divide remains a barrier to equitable education. The department must accelerate efforts to improve ICT integration in schools, especially in marginalized areas, by working closely with network providers to ensure that all learners can access digital learning tools and connectivity. The department must introduce clear strategies focused on career development, mentorship, and improved employment conditions. The UTM calls on the department to enhance operational efficiency through sound financial management, equitable resource distribution, strategic human resource planning, and robust monitoring and accountability frameworks. Only through decisive action can we build a solid foundation for basic education that serves all South African learners fairly and effectively. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, we invite the Honourable Member from Rise. We move the Honourable Member from ATM. Honourable Member from Al Jama. Honourable Member from NCC. Honourable Member from PAC. Honourable Member from UAT. We now invite the Honourable Makakula. Honourable Member Makakula.
Thank you, House Chair. Greetings to all members present and to you, House Chair. The African National Congress rises support of the Portfolio Committee on Basic Education on the third quarterly report of the Department of Basic Education for the 2024-25 financial year. Our support for the report is grounded in the ANC's enduring commitment to the constitutional right to education as the foundation of our people's liberation and development. The committee's report highlights both progress and persistent challenges. It is commendable that the department achieved 89% of its quarterly targets, demonstrating commitment to accountability and delivery. Yet behind these numbers lies a deeper question. Are we transforming the quality of learning and culture, live experience of the child in the classroom, especially the African child in rural and township schools? Central to ANC policies, the Freedom Charter clarion call that the doors of learning and culture shall be opened. This vision underpins the action plan to 2024-20 towards the realization of Schooling 2030, which prioritizes equity, redress, and quality. The committee's report shows progress in the rollout of early childhood development. Those are the ECDs. The expansion of the three-stream model, the strengthening of teacher development through the Funza Lushaka Bursary Scheme, and investment in reading strategies. These speak directly to the ANC policies to ensure every learner acquires foundation skills for lifelong learning. However, challenges identified in the report require urgent corrective measures. The late delivery of workbooks in some provinces undermines the ANC's goal of universal access to learning and teaching support materials. These disparities in the National School Nutrition Program, where some provinces serve 1 meal while others serve 2, run counter to our poor policy orientation. For millions of learners, the National School Nutrition Program is not just a nutrition program, but a guarantee of dignity, concentration, and equality opportunity. On teacher development, the ANC's policy of building a capable and youthful teaching corps finds expression in the employment of educators under 30 years, yet retention strategies and fair placement across provinces remain uneven. The ANC calls for urgent plans to retain young teachers while ensuring that qualified Funza Lushaka graduates are absorbed into the system without delay. Infrastructure delivery remain uneven, with delays in sanitation and classroom provision. The ANC remains committed to the advancement of safe, dignified, and fully resourced schools. Where there are weaknesses, consequence management must follow, in line with the principle of accountability. The committee's observations on ICT integration in school, especially rural and marginalized communities are aligned with our vision of a modern, inclusive education system. The fourth industrial revolution demands that no child be left behind. The ANC insists on stronger partnerships with network operators and stakeholders to fast-track digital access. In conclusion, Honorable House Chair, this report confirms progress but also reveals systematic weaknesses. The ANC recommits itself to ensuring that the department's programs are fully aligned and assist us to realize this nation's transformative agenda, from universal access to quality education to strengthening ECD, teacher professionalization, nutrition, and digital inclusion. Oversight must sharpen delivery, and delivery must change the material conditions of our children. It is in this spirit that the ANC supports the committee's report, with a clear understanding that education remains the most powerful weapon to defeat inequality, poverty, and underdevelopment. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, that concludes the debate. We proceed to the second order, which considers the consideration of the report on the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education on oversight visit to Gauteng on the 24th to the 28th of February 2025. Honourable members, I invite the Honourable Governor Honourable Member Governor.
No, thank you very much,
Chair.
House Chair. I will be Honourable Low, who's going to represent Honourable Governor. Honourable Speaker, honourable members, the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training conducted an oversight visit to several post-school education and training institutions in Gauteng as part of its first-term program for 2025. The objective was clear: assess institutional readiness, monitor governance, and financially performance, and engage directly with management, staff, and students on progress and persistent challenges. The visit exposed both areas of excellence and critical failures. The committee is alarmed by the continued financial instability and governance lapses at some TVET colleges, most notably Central Johannesburg College, which has received repeated disclaimer audit opinions. This is unacceptable, and urgent intervention is required. The Department of Higher Education and Training must respond with urgency. Prolonged delays in filling senior management position, slow curriculum reform, and unresolved infrastructure projects, such as land acquisition delays at Tshwane South, are undermining education delivery and blocking key development partnerships. NSFAS remains a serious point of concern. Delays in allowance disbursement, failure to implement a fit-for-purpose ICT system, and the wrongful defunding of thousands of students cannot be allowed to persist. The committee is deeply disturbed by the ongoing instability in NSFAS operations, particularly the lack of internal controls, poor communications with institutions, and systematic errors in student verifications. These issues directly affect the most vulnerable students, many of whom depend on NSFAS for basic and continuity of studies. NSFAS must be destabilized professionally and managed and held to strict performance standards. Failure to do so risks undermining the state's commitment to accessible higher education. Allegations of sexual exploitation by accommodation providers demand immediate investigation and accountability. UNISA, while showing improvement in labor relations, continues to face a 50% dropout rate and unresolved financial risk. This threatens both the student success and institutional credibility. Hence, the committee is calling on the department and council to urgently implement a turnaround strategy that is student-centered, financially sound, and transparent in execution. The committee calls for full implementation of its recommendations. Governance failures must be addressed through consequence management. Student well-being, Financial integrity and academic progress must become non-negotiable priorities. The committee will not retreat from its oversight responsibility. This sector cannot afford continued dysfunction. Now, this is a time for coordinated and decisive action, and not more plans without execution. And more responsive and accountable higher education system is a national imperative. We cannot allow students to suffer because of administrative failures and poor leadership. Every young person who enters a TVET college, a university, or a CET center deserves the dignity of reliable infrastructure, timely funding, competent infrastructure, and institutional stability. The committee will intensify its engagements with the department, not only to demand progress, but to assist in clearing backlogs that delay service delivery. If we fail to act now, we risk the collapse of trust in public education institutions. We must choose agency, coordination, and accountability. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We invite the Honorable Masego.
Thank you very much, House Chair. House Chair, our committee oversight visit to Gauteng in February revealed both the promise and the pain within our post-school education and training sector. At Tshwane South TVET College, we saw young people in modern workshops at the Gandhi Mandela Center of Specialization, learning trades that could rebuild our economy, yet over 100 vacancies remain unfilled, many of them lecturers. Students told us they leave not because they fail, but because classes do not start and allowances never arrive. At Central Johannesburg TVET College, instability persists. Acting managers lead without authority, governance structures are weak, and the college has faced 3 consecutive disclaimer audits. This is not the foundation we want for students or staff. At Wheatville CET Center, the dedication of learners was humbling. Adults of all ages rewriting their futures in maths, ICT, seamstressing, or baking. Yet we found one lecturer teaching 90 maths learners in a single class. No matter the passion, no one can carry that load alone. At UNISA, progress is clear. Stronger research outputs, innovative projects like the new experimental farm, and support for thousands of distance learners. But the dropout rate remains alarmingly high, and billions in student debt weigh the university down. Across every institution, one name echoed like a drum beat: NSFAS. Allowances delayed, accommodation providers unpaid, appeals unanswered. Students excluded because the system failed them, not because they failed academically. Workers inside NSFAS told us of poor leadership, wasteful expenditure, and broken systems that make it impossible to serve students properly. Honorable members, this is not just inefficiency, it is injustice. The Department of Higher Education and Training cannot continue to look away while vacancies go unfilled. While colleges lose funding because land transfers stall, and while NSFAS limps from one crisis to the next, the minister must take responsibility, because governance failures are not abstract, they crush real lives and futures. Yet amid the frustration, we also saw resilience. Lectures going the extra mile, students refusing to give up, and community supporting centers with limited resources. But resilience is not a policy. It is not enough. Honorable members, our young people deserve more than promises. They deserve action. Therefore, we call for immediate filling of critical vacancies at colleges and universities, especially lecturers and senior management, a turnaround plan for NSFAS, clear accountability for audit failures, urgent investment in CT and TVET colleges. Education is not just a number in a budget. It is a promise we make to families, a promise of opportunity, dignity, and a better life. That promise must be honored. I thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We invite the Honorable Ngubane. Honorable Ngubane of the MKP.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and esteemed members of Parliament. Today I stand before you to reflect on our significant oversight visit to Gauteng from February 24 to 28, 2025. This visit was not just an opportunity to assess the state of our educational institutions, but also a crucial endeavor to engage with the pressing challenges faced by our colleges and universities. At Tshwane TVET College, our journey began there, where we conducted a walkabout through the Information Technology Lab, Data Communication and Networking Workshop, and the Gandhi Mandela Square of Specialization for Artisan Skills and Mechanical Fitter Workshop. While we witnessed commendable facilities, several concerns were raised during our observation. We encountered a high vacancy rate and noted that many key positions are not filled. The pace at which the DHET is advertising vacant position needs urgent attention. The burden placed on council administrators and secretary staff performing dual roles must be addressed, as they are often unavailable to fill all necessary duties. Another serious concern that arose was the potential loss of funding from the People's Republic of China. This threat looms due to the prolonged land transfer process and non-performing service providers. Additionally, the rising student debt continues to pose barriers for learners striving for success. During our discussions with SRC, it became clear that unfunded students are a pressing issues that demands immediate action, particularly from NSFAS. It is imperative that we ensure adequate resource and support mechanism for our students. At Wardville Community Learning Centers, we witnessed the grade 12 metric rewrite program, adult education and training level 4, as a good seamstress program, and an assistant bakery and cookery program, the computer digital program. This initiative underscores the importance of community education. However, full funding is imperative with adequate investment. We have an unprecedented opportunity to eradicate lack of education in South Africa through these community colleges. At Central Johannesburg TVET College, this college focused on business studies programs. Sadly, the absence of workshops facilitating artisans' development reflects what can only be described as a wrong attitude towards practical skills. We are worried that this TVET College is being now starting to be turned to be university and focusing on soft skills instead of handwork skills. Concerns about governance are critical here, particularly regarding the oversight over principal appointments and the performance evaluations that lack financial expertise, affecting our fiscal responsibilities. Alarmingly, both the principal and deputy principal corporate services remained in acting roles while critical position stays unfilled. Furthermore, we note that one college building serves as a makeshift shelter for the homeless, highlighting the need for robust strategic planning. The disclaimer audit outcome received for 3 consecutive cycles must serve as a wake-up call. We cannot afford more disregard for accountability and transparency. Our UNISA visit brought us to the Eskom Patlele building, where we witnessed vital departments supporting student success. The Experimental Farm Initiative exemplifies how higher education can contribute significantly to food security and innovative research. However, we must address concerning situation involving politics at UNISA, especially regarding the DDG Sotewa's conflicting interests, which his hands is found everywhere in this higher education. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now invite the Honourable Lonzi. The Honourable Lonzi of the EFF.
Thank you, Chair. On our oversight visit, we've made crucial interventions and proposals for the Committee on Higher Education. Allow us, Chair, to now turn to the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, who has been forced to retreat and surrender to the courageous voices of the youth and students of South Africa. The gazette that would have punished students for being poor has been withdrawn. This is undoubtedly a victory for the youth, but let us be clear, we cannot celebrate forever or too early. We must continue to forge ahead. We must possess the maturity to convert protest into meaningful policy. This government seems to be unsure and directionless on what progressive legislation looks like. Therefore, in the absence of political leadership that is in touch with the realities and lived experiences of our youth, as the EFF will step in and assist you to write progressive laws, not the draconian laws that you sought to write. We don't just reject for the sake of rejecting. Let us show you what the executive was supposed to do. When we leave here today, we're going to propose the introduction of a private member's National Credit Amendment Bill. The amendment bill will address two key aspects. First is to remove educational institutions from Regulation 18.7 of the 2006 National Credit Regulations, but secondly, to prohibit the reporting of any student or graduate to a credit bureau for unpaid university or college fees. We'll do this because we know this gray area in the regulations has allowed some institutions to behave as shadow credit bureaus, surrendering our youth to predatory debt collectors who harass them day and night. We're going to put an end to that. This is not just about credit. This is about dignity. It is about whose future this government is willing to protect and whose dreams it is willing to destroy so that debt collectors can make profit. There is absolutely no justification to blacklist a young person seeking an education. Worse, when you even refuse to give them their qualifications, leaving them depressed, unemployable, and economically inactive. There are many young ANC members of parliament who have surrendered their thinking capacity to the elders. What is even more worrying is that many of them were deployed to parliament on the ticket of fees must fall and youth struggles. Let us see if they will side with the youth of this country or sell their souls for government perks and privileges. On Friday, 3 October, we invite all South Africans to join the EFF Youth Command in Pretoria at the headquarters of the Department of Trade and Industry as we reaffirm as the youth of South Africa, we want jobs, not debt. We submit. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We now invite the Honorable Zondo.
Thank you, Chairperson. The IFP reaffirms its commitment to accessible quality education and welcomes this report on the readiness of post-school institution in Gauteng. We commend the Centers of Excellence and Innovation, yet remain deeply concerned about the persistent challenges. These challenges include the delays in NSFAS allowances, which largely contributes to high students' dropout rate, underfunded TVET and SETA colleges, and lastly, the critical staff vacancies, which affect growth in transformation and skill development in this sector. Despite these efficiencies in this year's online registration processes, we urge the department to further capacitate the TVET and SETA sectors, particularly by addressing the high student to staff ratio caused by the critical vacant positions, as this significantly impacts the teaching quality and service delivery. Finally, it is paramount important to fast-track the certificate backlog so as not to further hinder the student from the graduating timelessly and delay the job finding processes. The IFP call for urgent and decisive in addressing this system shortfall so that it award our youth with necessary skill and qualification in a timely manner. In light of the issues raised and provided recommendation, the IFP support this report. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now invite the Honorable Matopa. Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, House Chair. If you permit, can I down my video for better connection?
You are permitted, Honorable Member.
The Patriotic Alliance welcomes the Portfolio Committee's report and commends its efforts to assess the state of higher education institutions in Gauteng. We remain committed to the building of responsive and inclusive education system that empowers youth and drives national development. In light of the committee's findings, we make the following declarations. Institutions must urgently address deteriorating infrastructure to ensure campuses are safe, accessible, and conducive to learning. This includes improved maintenance, lighting and security personnel, and emergency response systems. We call for greater transparency and oversight in the allocation and management of funds. Corruption and inefficiencies must be rooted out to ensure that the resources reach students and institutions where they are most needed. Technical and vocational education and training TVET colleges, along with community education centers, must be prioritized as engines of skills development. These institutions should be better resourced and integrated into local economic development strategies. We urge stronger partnership between higher education institutions, government departments, and the private sector to align curricula with market needs and improve graduate employability. Comprehensive support systems must be in place to address students' challenges, including mental health services, adequate accommodation, and streamlined access to financial aid. These are essential for student success and retention. This declaration reflects the Patriotic Alliance's unwavering commitment and transforming higher education into a powerful tool for equity, innovation, and sustainable development. I thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We now invite the Honorable Dr. Boshoff.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. This report is on a visit to two TVET colleges, one CET college, UNISA and NSFAS, being all in Gauteng. Now, if we take it from the one side right through to the other, we could see that TVET colleges is clearly not an employer of choice. All the acting and vacant positions, even in the Pretoria or the Tshwane South College, which seems to function much better than the Johannesburg College, has quite a number of vacant and acting positions. Now, fortunately, it seems as if the uptake of training opportunities are better than with the colleges as an employer. But there must be some problem with the whole situation of TVETs, and maybe the merger of TVETs, like universities, with a centralized management, with a board for everyone, every college, is not such a good idea. Maybe more independent campuses, each campus an independent college, much more to the tune of how schools work with school governing bodies than the way that universities work with several and distant campuses from one another might be more fitting. Now, CET colleges, the one in Wattville obviously showed what can be done if facilities and equipment is sufficient. Unfortunately, most of the CET colleges work in schools, and especially primary schools, where facilities are not adequate for adults to work. And the department might have to decide to either quit the whole idea of CET colleges altogether or otherwise to fund it appropriately.
Honorable Dr. Boshoff, your time has expired.
Okay, then I'll stop. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now invite the Honorable Dr. Litlape. Honorable Dr. Litlape. Can I ascertain if the Honorable Dr. Litlape is on the platform? Is there a member from Action SA? Honorable member from Action SA who is able to take the debate on behalf of Dr. Litlape? If not, I move to the honorable member from ACDP. ACDP. Honorable member from UDM. UDM. Honorable member from Rise FM, Rise Party. My apologies. Honorable member from BOSA. Honorable member from ATM. Honorable member from Al Jama. Honorable member from NCC. Honorable member from PAC. Honorable member from UAT. We move to the Honorable Gabo from the African National Congress.
Oh, thank you very much, House Chair. On behalf of the ANC, being guided by the values of the National Democratic Revolution and the Freedom Charters called that education shall be free, compulsory, universal, and equal for all children. We acknowledge the progress made by post-school education and training institutions in Gauteng, while we also express serious concerns about systematic weaknesses that threatens the sector's transformation agenda. During our oversight visit, the committee observed that many institutions have made strides in streamlining registration and academic readiness for 2025. However, it is deeply troubling that some TVET colleges, including Tshwane South and Central Johannesburg College, continue to face deep governance and financial mismanagement crisis. Repeated qualified and disclaimer audit outcomes, some of the 3 consecutive years reflect persistent failures to implement audit action plans and exercise effective internal controls. Contrary to the principles of ethical leadership and accountability championed by the African National Congress. A major concern remains the unacceptable high number of funded vacancies across the sector, particularly in lecture and senior management posts. The committee views the department's delays in recruitment and poor HR systems as a direct impediment to service delivery and student success. These gaps undermines the ANC's resolution to professionalize the public service and build capable developmental state. Every vacancy left unfilled is a lost opportunity to develop human potential, to capacitate institutions, and to deliver on the promise of quality post-education training. The community education and training sector remains the most neglected, receiving a mere 3 billion, of which 80% goes to the salaries, leaving little room for innovation or expansion. Yet, institutions like Westville Community Learning Center offer a beacon of hope. Through partnership with the National Skills Fund, sitters and learners are given tools, stipends, and startup resources, a practical realization of the ANC developmental objectives. Critically, the committee made history by formally engaging organized labor from NSFAS for the first time. Their insight revealed deep institutional inefficiencies that measure broader capacity weaknesses in the state entities. The delays in the student funding, poor communication, and administrative bottlenecks must be urgently addressed through the implementation of the ANC's resolution to modernize and restructure NSFAS into a responsive and a transparent institution. A reformed NSFAS must operate with integrity, efficiency, and a student-first approach. Funding delays affect not just education, they disrupt lives, limit mobility, and entrench inequality. Infrastructure remains a persistent bottleneck. While some of the campuses are benefiting from refurbishment and expansion, many others still lack basic facilities such as libraries, IT labs, and accessible accommodation. This uneven development continues to disadvantage rural and township-based institutions. The committee reaffirms that spatial justice must be central to infrastructure rollout, ensuring that no student is excluded due to geographical spread. Furthermore, the committee calls on the department to enhance mental health care support across PSET sector. The psychological needs of students, particularly those navigating poverty, violence, and displacement, are often overlooked. Higher education must not only educate but support the holistic well-being of students. As the ANC, we reiterate that the transformation of higher education is central to dismantling apartheid legacies, eradicating poverty, and restoring the dignity of our people. The state must remain the driver of this transformative agenda, and the committee will continue exercising vigilant oversight to ensure this historic mission is fulfilled. As the African National Congress, we support the proposal or the report presented before us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member Gabo. That concludes the debate. We now move to the third and the last order for the day, which considers a report of the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education on the 2024-2025 second quarter financial and non-financial performance report of the Department of Higher Education and Training. Honorable members, I now invite the Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Litsia.
Thank you very much, Chairperson Lusizo, and good morning, honorable members and the people of South Africa. Today, we present the Portfolio Committee's assessment on the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training's financial and non-financial performance for the second quarter of the 24-25 financial year. This process is not a mere formality. It is an essential act of Parliament oversight, mandated by Section 55 of the Constitution and operationalized by the Public Financial Management Act and the Money Bills Amendment Act, Procedures and Related Matters Act. The committee's review goes beyond evaluating expenditure features. It evaluates the impact, delivery and accountability of the post-school education and training sector across universities, TVET colleges, CT colleges, and CITAs. The committee has taken serious note of persistent delays in infrastructure projects, recurring under expenditure in critical programs, and slow resolution of systematic bottlenecks in both financial and service delivery performance. These shortcomings, if left unaddressed, threaten the transformation and expansion goals of the sector, undermining the significance of the amount of 91.4 billion spent during the quarter if tangible improvements are not realized where they must count the most, in lecture rooms, skill centers, and community education colleges. We emphasize that departmental reporting must not only account for the money spent, but also demonstrate measurable outcomes. Accountability, consequence management, and inclusion remain core priorities, especially improved participation for women, youth, people with disabilities, and oversight is a sustained constitutional obligation. The committee calls on the executive to take corrective action wherever performance falls short and to strengthen institutional compliance in every respect, particularly regarding infrastructure progress, timely reporting, and remedying unresolved auditing findings. We require the department to accelerate delivery and optimize coordination across programs so that national education objectives are not compromised. The monitoring and review process will be continuous and rigorous, aiming to secure a quality inclusive post-school education system for all South Africans. The committee remains resolute in demanding accountability, improved performance, and timely delivery. Will rigorously monitor progress to ensure the department actions are aligned with national education goals, securing a quality inclusive PSET system for all. In addition, the committee urges greater transparency in financial management and the use of public funds. Our learners as institutions deserve nothing less than a system that enables opportunity, growth, and long-term national development. The committee will continue to fulfill its mandate without compromise. I so submit the report for consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson Litsia. We move to the second speaker. That is the Honorable Masego.
Thank you very much, House Chair. House Chair, the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training has considered the department's second quarter performance report of the 2024-2025 financial year. In this report, the department received a main appropriation of 137.5 billion rands for this financial year, of which 113 billion came from voted funds and 24.5 billion from direct charges against the National Revenue Fund. By the end of the second quarter, the department had spent 91.4 billion, about 66.5% of the available budget. While this reflects a high level of expenditure, the committee noted with concern an underspending of 1.8 billion against projected targets. Most concerning was Program 2, which is Planning, Policy and Strategy, where only 11% of funds were spent against projections, largely due to the delays in the transfer on infrastructure grants to universities and TVET colleges, as well as slow progress in community education infrastructure. These delays compromise service delivery in a sector where infrastructure development is urgently needed. On non-financial performance, the department achieved 79% of its planned targets, a marginal regression from the first quarter. While programs 2, 5, and 6 achieved all of their targets, performance in administration and in TVET was disappointing. The committee is concerned about recurring delays in resolving disciplinary cases, which includes sexual harassment cases, and that creates conducive environment to perpetrators. Also, persistent vacancies that contribute to underspending on compensation of employees. The reality is, if you have a vacant position of the director in human resource, how do you expect to be functional in addressing the weaknesses in the department? These weaknesses undermine the department's efficiency and its ability to deliver services. The committee did, however, welcome the department's procurement allocation towards women-owned, youth-owned, and Black-owned businesses. This is an important step in using state procurement to drive economic transformation. Program 4, which deals with technical and vocational education and training, underperformed in its target of signing workplace placement protocols with industry. With youth unemployment at crisis levels, the committee urges the department and colleges to strengthen their partnerships to ensure that TVET graduates are able to gain the workplace experience they need. House Chair, another major concern relates to infrastructure development. The construction of 9 new community education and training colleges have been unacceptably slow. Unless urgent action is taken, this could lead to funds being returned to Treasury, impacting negatively on students. The committee therefore makes the following recommendations. The department must speed up disciplinary cases, urgently fill all funded vacancies. It should work more closely with the Department of Women, Youth, and Persons with Disability to expand procurement for business owned by people with disabilities. On infrastructure, the department must strengthen oversight, enforce compliance, and fast-track CET college construction and public works with municipalities. The independent actual buildings, not consultants. The department must also adopt a readiness matrix before allocating building budgets. Universities, as the largest recipients of 47.6 billion rand, must be fully accountable with funding withheld if financial reporting requirements are not met. In conclusion, while progress has been made, persistent underspending in infrastructure delays and weak controls remain serious concern. Fixing this is essential if the sector is to deliver the scale South Africa needs for growth, innovation, and jobs. I thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now invite the Honourable Msezane.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Greetings are extended to the House. Umkhondosi Party welcomes the withdrawal of the National Credit Act Amendment Regulation that was intended to enlist owing students to the Credit Bureau. This decision we view as one that was made in some Shisanyama by the Minister, detached from lived poor conditions of our unfunded students and unemployed youth. Our students, led by Umkhondosi Students Movement, was ready to meet the Minister Pakstow of the JNU on the streets. We further unapologetically reaffirm our call for free higher education for the poor. Umkhondosi Party rises to declare on the Portfolio Committee's report on the Department of Higher Education and Training second quarter performance. The findings reveal systematic gaps, chronic underspending, and deep misalignment with the needs of our youth. Honourable members, the MK Party deeply regrets the endemic disservice and gross failures by the GNU. The GNU syndrome continues to oppress the struggling youth in our poor communities, informal settlements, and the students that are currently enrolled in higher education institutions. The department was appropriated 137.5 billion for 2024-2025, but by second quarter had spent only 66.5%, underspending by 1.8 billion. Program 2, Planning Policy and Strategy, underspent by 77.5%, delaying infrastructure for universities and TVET colleges, NCT colleges due to poor planning. Program 3 on University Education received 91.7 billion with no measurable quarterly targets and still underspent by 1.4 billion. Program 4 on the TVET sector missed workplace placement targets for students and lecturers and underspent by 76 million, denying young people of vital experience. Program 5 on skills development underspent as well by 12.5 million, while Program 6 on CET colleges underspent by 11.8 million, leaving colleges under-resourced. Vacancy backlogs caused 159.7 million underspending on compensation, and even As young qualified academics remain unemployed and many vacancies occupied by foreign nationals, while the GNU feels comfortable with reporting thousands of staff vacancies in the Department of Higher Education and Training, millions of hungry qualified black academics are desperately looking for employment, to the point that their families even regret spending money on their education. They have since become a curse of family poverty. Universities received 47.6 billion in subsidies, yet resist public scrutiny and delay reporting, worsening funding bottlenecks. City colleges construction remains stalled due to poor planning and reliance on IDT, with funds wasted on consultancy fees. Honorable members, these failures reflect not just inefficiency but betrayal of the working class, students in rural areas, and unemployed youth. The chronic underspending and mismanagement represent not just inefficiency but betrayal. We demand urgent corrective action, decisive leadership, and accountability. Our youth deserve better. Our country demands better. The MK Party urgent accountability and corrective action. We reaffirm our unwavering commitment, as I've said above, to the pursuit of free quality education and only the path to break the cycle of poverty and inequality. In closing, the MK Party urges young people to start paying attention to this government behavior and
Honourable
get
Member,
assured that we are standing
the
with
time
them.
has expired.
We remain
That was
resolute in their
powerful.
future.
That was
I
powerful.
so declare on behalf of the Party. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now invite the Honourable Lonzi. Honourable Member Lonzi.
Thank you, Chair. We meet here today with the sobering truth before us that in a country crippled by youth unemployment, inequality, and structural exclusion, the Department of Higher Education and Training has once again underspent and come short from meeting its key targets. Most alarming are the gaps on skills development. The numbers are glaring. At the end of quarter two, only 47% of the budget allocated to the SETAs and the National Skills Fund had been spent. That's about 12.7 billion just sitting while students and young people are desperate for training, access, and opportunity. The National Skills Fund alone underspends north of 23% and the SETAs north of 10% in a sector that is supposed to drive the skills revolution in our country. This is not just poor performance, it is a betrayal of our transformation agenda and the lived realities of the youth of South Africa, in particular, the NEET youth that is not in education, not in employment and training. Let us be clear, Chair, SETAs are not just financial instruments. They are vehicles for social mobility. When they fail, the township learner loses hope, the TVET graduate is left unemployable, the artisan remains unqualified, and the informal worker is excluded from recognition. Even worse, Chair, the committee notes that the National Skills Fund has serious weaknesses in its internal controls. How then do we trust them with the infrastructure budget and many other budgets that we give them? This is not just risky, it is irresponsible. Chairperson, we need more than technical corrections. We need decisive leadership, robust oversight, and a complete audit of both the National Skills Fund and the SETAs. Skills development is not a sideshow or a side program. It is a front line of economic justice. We must treat it as such or risk losing an entire generation to administrative failure. We submit. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member Lonzi. I now invite the Honourable Zondo.
Thank you, House Chairperson. The IFP notes the Portfolio Committee findings on the department's performance and stressing the importance of accountability, efficiency, and inclusivity in the post-school education sector. On administration, the IFP support the faster resolution on disciplinary cases and the filling of all the funded vacancies to ensure the optimal functioning. We also encourage promoting disability-owned businesses in government procurement through collaboration with the Department of Women, Youth, and Persons with Disabilities. For universities, the IFP emphasized the need for for strict accountability in the use of public funds and timely submission of financial statement with consequences for non-compliance. The IFP calls on the department to translate the policy into tangible results on the ground, ensuring that South Africans, especially the youth and the marginalized communities, benefit from the quality education and skill development. In the light of the issues raised and the provided recommendation, the IFP supports this report. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I invite the Honourable Matopa. Honourable Member Matopa. The Honourable Member Matopa. I move. I invite the Honourable Dr. Boshoff. Honourable Member Dr. Boshoff.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. We discussed this report 9 months after it was delivered and more than a year after the reporting period. Therefore, it's well after the fact and it borders on irrelevance. Nevertheless, we could deal with this report in conjunction with the previous one on the oversight visit, and therefore I will not again refer to TVET colleges and the CET branch of the Department of Higher Education. On universities, there is a remark in the recommendations that universities resist accountability. Now, that is very important that we look at that from a fundamental way. Do universities resist it in terms of academic freedom or in terms of good governance? Academic freedom is a cornerstone of a democratic society, but good governance, of course, also. Therefore, it is of utmost importance that it is enforced. Now, a policy which has been proposed by the previous minister, Dr. Nzimande, was that a distinction must be made between universities and university colleges, where universities have the full authority and the capacity for good governance, for research, for lecturing, everything that a university should do, while a university college works under the mentorship of a university. And that should be revisited. I hope this policy didn't leave the department with the minister. Regarding NSFAS, this is a problem without an end. The systems have never worked. It seems not as if it's going to work. The problem should not be overstated, but it should also not be underestimated, because for the individual student, that is only career. I will stop at that. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Dr. Boshoff. Can I invite the Honourable Matopa? Honourable Member Matopa? I invite the Honourable Kobe.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, instead of being a beacon of hope for our young people, the Department of Higher Education and Training has become a monument to chronic underspending and mismanagement. For example, in planning, policy, and strategy alone, there is an underspending of 1.6 billion rand. Is it any wonder this department is adrift? We are still waiting for NSFAS annual report for 2023-2024, nearly a year overdue, in total breach of the PFMA for an entity that handles 70 billion a year. This is unacceptable. It is a total betrayal of the very students this department is meant to serve, because every cent unaccounted for is one that is stolen from them. As Action SA, we've been clear that the starting point must be with merging the Department of Basic Education and Higher Education. Only then will we stop this wasteful duplication and build an education system that is efficient and coherent. As Action SA, we've been consistent. Education must be accessible to all deserving students. That is why we propose raising the NSFAS income cap to 500,000 to support the missing middle, and introducing low interest loans with repayments deferred until 2 years of employment, capped at 10% of income. Any remaining debt must be written off after 10 years, because honestly, no graduate should be shackled for life by the cost of studying. Finally, we call for the scrapping of the broken CETAs. 20 billion a year is being poured into bloated, corrupt structures that fail our young people continuously. That money must go into an innovative opportunity fund that actually delivers skills and jobs. South Africa's students deserve better, and this government is not it. Thank you so much, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, I invite the Honourable Member from ACDP. Honourable Member from ACDP. We move to the Honourable Member from UDM. Honourable Member UDM. Honourable Member from Rise Mzansi. Honourable Member from Bosa. Honourable Member from NCC. Honourable Member from PAC. Honourable Member from UAT. Honourable Member from Good. I invite the Honourable Member Low of the African National Congress.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Honourable members. Today, the African National Congress stands to welcome and endorse this detailed and robust report of the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training. We acknowledge the department's partial achievements. However, we also assert firmly that partial progress is not sufficient when young people are hungry for opportunities. Allow me, House Chair, to begin with the pertinent facts. By the end of Q2, the department had spent 91,400,000,000 rand out of 107,500,000,000 rand, equating to 66.5% expenditure. While University Education Program 3 attained a relatively strong 77.3% spend rate, amounting to 70,900,000,000 rand. This masks the critical underperformance in other areas. On Planning and Policy and Strategy Program 2, a vital driver of infrastructure and system design, spent only 468,200,000 rand out of a projected 2,100,000,000 rand, reflecting a staggering 77.5% underspending. That is indeed unacceptable. These are not just numbers. They represent young people without campus, without classrooms, and without hope. Even more worrying is the 84.6% underspending on capital assets and ongoing delays in community education and training infrastructure projects in all 9 provinces. The ANC does not accept a situation where planning failures and weak coordination stall the construction of the public institutions that are so desperately needed for skills development and economic participation. Additionally, the 159,700,000 rand underspent on compensation due to unfilled vacancies and unresolved disciplinary cases is unjustifiable. It slows service delivery, weakens morale, and sends the wrong message about accountability. Nonetheless, we acknowledge progress where it has been made. The department has surpassed its procurement targets for designated groups, with 54% for women-owned, 73% for Black-owned, and 32.6% for youth-owned enterprises. These achievements are not minor. They are huge. They are massive. They show that transformation is possible when targets are taken seriously. All members, the ANC support this report. However, support does not mean complacency. We expect urgent action on the committee's recommendations, especially accelerated infrastructure rollout, improved coordination across programs, consequence management for non-compliance, and a strong planning for long-term impact. On our members, we are building a system that works not only for the privileged few, but for the millions of South Africans whose failures depend on its success. Hence, as the ANC, we will not sit silently while there are administrative delays and capacity shortfalls that undermine the strategic goals of the National Development Plan. We call on the departments to instill a culture of urgency and accountability, innovation within its ranks. The students in the rural areas, township, city colleges, and under-resourced TVET campuses deserve the best quality of services infrastructure as their counterparts in well-established institutions. Moreover, the ANC reiterates the importance of expanding and supporting TVET and community education and training colleges, not merely as an alternative to university pathways, but as equally valuable and strategically important pillars of the system. We must reframe how society perceives vocational training, not as second tier, but as essential to the economy and community development. However, this reimagining will remain a rhetorical exercise if the basic infrastructure, staffing, and learning materials at these institutions are not dramatically improved. Funding must be equitable. It must also be strategic, supporting areas where the most urgent developmental needs and the greatest transformative potential. Furthermore, the ANC for the department to adopt a stronger, more transparent approach to performance reporting. Targets must not be vague or overly technical. They must be meaningful, measurable, and linked directly to service delivery outcomes. We want to see timelines that are realistic but ambitious, plans that are costed but not consecutive, and leadership culture that prioritize both accountability and their impact. The committee's recommendations are not optional. They are a roadmap for change. We'll return to this house and demand updates, not excuses. This report represents not just a review of the department's progress, but the litmus test of our collective commitment to a transformed, accessible, and just higher education system. The ANC stands ready to support this transformation, not in words, but through decisive and ongoing oversight. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Member Low. Honourable members, that concludes the debate and the business of this virtual mini-plenary session. The mini-plenary will now rise.